Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And today, I've got kind of a cleanup stream here. You always want to clean up after the stream, right? Got a little bit of a cleanup stream. I was remembering there's a bunch of cases that I had started talking about a while back, as much as well over a year ago, back when the channel had a little bit of a different focus. And so what today is a very relaxed stream, and we're going to do a couple things. Yeah, I don't know. I keep saying this. I don't know how long the stream is going to be. I don't have as formalized a plan as I normally do, and there's a couple reasons. And part of it is because I'm doing some things at home that are taking a lot of time from that. But I said I would do a stream tonight, so I'm gonna do the stream tonight. And I thought it would be a good time to do a little bit of housekeeping, a little bit of foreshadowing of things to come. And also a little bit of, I guess, closure on some of these cases that we had talked about a very long time ago. So some of those cases are going to, oh goodness, I gotta rearrange everything over here. They'll need a little bit of introduction to either refresh people on what those cases were or let people know what they were if they were not around at that time. But I wanted to kind of bring some closure because I do see some of these questions pop up from time to time. Hey, whatever happened to that case or this person, etc. So I'm going to talk about that. The other housekeeping that I'll have to do is talk a little bit about the kill stream. I did go on the kill stream with Mad Black and discussed with him directly some of the recent events. And so this will probably be the last I will bring this up. If other people bring it up in like a super chat or something, obviously I will. We're not ghosting the topic or anything like that. Just at this point, I doubt there's going to be much left to say. So, we'll cover that as well, and then, like I said, we'll talk about what's coming up. So I'll preview that a little bit. When you set out to do something, sometimes you get pulled in a little bit different direction here or there, and there's all sorts of good reasons for that. But occasionally you have to refocus a bit. And so part of that refocus for me will be shifting the content of this channel and actually the content of delivery, or the content delivery on this channel, back towards a little bit of a different model. Don't worry, things are going to be very similar. We're not going to be avoiding topics. This is probably going to ultimately result in more content, is the idea, but some different kinds of content and then some more organization on the back end of the channel. Easier ways to make the channel accessible to people who aren't necessarily familiar with the live stream topics, and allow people to kind of get into those live streaming topics in a different way. So this is about how I plan to carry the channel going in. We're coming up on 2 years of making videos. We're 23 months into making videos, almost to the day. I think it was a couple days. I think it was November 7th that I did the first Maddox video. So after this 2 years, this has changed dramatically from what it was, which is great, and I like that. But there's some things I want to reel back. There's some things I want to move into, and so I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. All right, where to begin? Maybe I should start there. Maybe that's the best plan. I don't know what the best plan is, because once we start getting into these court cases and wrapping them up, or providing an update and talking about the future of those cases, you know, it might get a little harder to get back to this. So here's the order we're going to go in. I'm going to start talking about the channel in just a moment. Then we'll talk about MBA on the kill stream. And then we'll move into the cases and kind of wrap up the stream in that way. So let's get into it. So this channel has become a nightly sort of talk show channel. That's not what the channel originally set out to be, but that's okay because I never could have imagined doing a nightly talk show channel, and I love it. I love doing that. I love coming in and bringing different subjects. The problem with a nightly talk show channel in the way I've been doing it is that if you are a new viewer to the channel and you have no idea what's going on in, say, the Vic Mignogna situation, it's not very accessible. You're coming in the middle of a story. And so if you try and kind of get back to the beginning of that story, you can do it, but it's not super easy. And a lot of that is my fault on the organization of the existing videos and all of that stuff. But also, it's just daunting to come in from some sort of recommendation or a clip that you might see on another channel from this show or a tweet or whatever, and then, oh, these are 3-hour-long live streams and there's like 70 of them. How do I even come close to accessing this content? So what I'm going to do, what I'm going to start doing, this is a process. There will be much more shorter content coming out in the near future. We're going to be doing a couple to several 10 to 15 minute videos per week, right? And these videos will likely be focused on just delivering some quick news updates in the legal world. Now, if you guys are not particularly into that content because you like the long form content, fear not. The long form content isn't going anywhere. In fact, all of this will happen on this channel. So I want to be kind of clear on that. The short form and the long form content will occur on this channel. The short form content is intended to grow the audience, allow people sort of an invitation into my style of discussion, my style of thinking, and the type of content that's available. And at the end of each one, we'll have sort of a welcome invitation to come to watch the live streams and to understand how that content is a little bit different. Because I want people to come and enjoy the streams. I think we've got a killer community actually that goes on in the chats, and I love that is a thing that is thriving and growing, and you guys have kind of a fun side show to the show. If you don't want to look at my stupid face, you can enjoy the chat and just listen to me drone on in the background. So that being said, the channel is going to be more streamlined into stuff that people can easily share about bigger legal, or not bigger, I guess just a broader range of legal issues. So those videos are going to come out and they're going to have more of my opinion. You're not going to get like, it's still going to be my sort of style on the thing. It's not going to be legal with really boring analysis. It's not going to be Leonard French style videos or anything like that. It'll be my opinions condensed down into about 10 to 15 minutes on small subjects that I might not even really be considering talking about at length, but it's going to be a lot of sort of my personal takes on these issues. And then still basically the same frequency, we'll be doing the live streams at night, and then that's its own show, right? So that's going to be happening going forward. So if you are looking for a broader range of legal topics, there's going to be a bunch of that, and it'll span from ongoing news to recaps of Supreme Court cases and all sorts of stuff like that. There will also, this is the hardest one for me to do, there should also be a couple videos a month that are really produced, that delve into a specific legal issue that's going to have a more time put into it, some production value like scene transitions and whatever that means. I don't know. I don't know it's going to look like yet, because I'm not good at doing that. But that's something that'll be out there too. A little bit more focused on those sort of topics. But anyway, so that'll be kind of just a way to bring people into the show in a little bit more friendly way, and hopefully build up a nice library of those shorter videos that someone can go, they can check out the channel and they go, hey, what is this? And they'll get right up front a bunch of that shorter content, and then they can choose to explore into the live stream content, and it's a little less daunting. The long-term plan of that is the live stream archive content will probably be moving off of this channel and transitioned over onto an archive channel. All the live streams will still be up in all of their glory or whatever, but they're going to be moved over to a channel where they'll sit, I guess, and people can watch them there. Then that will kind of clean up a lot of things as far as, and this has to do with how YouTube seems to deliver and promote content. That's the reality of why some of this stuff needs to change, is if I want to keep producing content and keep reaching more and more people, then I need to adapt to how YouTube does things. But I don't want to do that by compromising how the show works. I just want to add value to people in different ways. So look for those changes coming up. This is a project. It's going to require a lot more work from me during the day to produce these shorter videos during the week. And so, it's not going to start up overnight. It's still, all of these work transitions take time, but that's coming. That's coming. Another thing that's coming is a cleanup of the Teespring store. So if there is anything on there that you particularly want and you've been holding off on buying, some of those campaigns are going to be shut down, and we're going to start making the Teespring store a little bit more, I guess, focused as well. We'll have a couple offerings, retire those offerings, put up new things and stuff like that. So just if you're wondering, or if you see some changes happening, that's what's going to go on there. I guess that's about what we need to say about that. I just want to keep you guys in the loop on this. The reality, of course, is that this channel did not always focus on Vic Mignogna, and it can't always focus on Vic Mignogna in the future, although there will be plenty of Vic content and Vic-related live streams as things happen. But things are in a slowdown period, and eventually, at some point in the future, they'll go away. So there's going to be more return to some more varied content, things like big brain panels, things like the Chad Dad streams, interviews with other lawyers. I do believe we will have the Second Amendment lawyer on either tomorrow or Friday, whatever her schedule allows. The best. I will leave the choice up to her, and I will have my intern announce it on Twitter. Another thing you may notice is I'm gonna test the waters on using the community tab on YouTube a little more to preview the streams, to get the message out about the shows. I don't looking at the, I guess I was reviewing sort of the metrics and analytics that YouTube provides, and I'm not sure how effective the Twitter distribution actually is. So I'll be kind of evaluating if there's more value to but promoting the show on the YouTube community tab, or even making small posts. So if you see those flooding your notifications, and you hate it, make sure you tell me. Or if you like it, make sure you tell me, because I don't know how often other people use that function, and I don't know how well YouTube distributes that function. I know I occasionally see Twitch streamers announcing their Twitch stream on their YouTube channels, and that's honestly about all I ever see from it. So I'm going to try and use it in a way that's related to YouTube, and I don't know how it's going to work out. So feedback on that will be appreciated. If you say, hey, I hate this, don't ever do it again, I won't necessarily capitulate to that demand, but I'll listen to it and take it into account and just see how it's working out. So that's that. Oh, Dave Marks. Whew. But that's what you're going to see on the channel coming forward. I don't want to surprise people with how things adjust, but that's going to be happening. And then, yeah, I'm going to try and line up more and more interviews with interesting people with either legal issues or potential legal issues, or issues that cross into, not necessarily issues, but discussion that crosses into these places where the legal overlaps with pop culture, for example, like anime and stuff like that. Just want to bring you guys a good show every night, right? Like, that's the goal, is to bring you guys a good show that you want to keep watching. And so, you know, I'm just working on that. So that's what that is. Excuse me. I'm gassy. Gassy from the kill stream and the fast talking. Okay. So I don't think I have anything left to say on that. Let me check out a couple super chats that have come in, and then we'll go right back to it, and we'll talk about NBA and the kill stream. Mr. Ruby Elf says, hey, Nick, gonna shill out my services on Fiverr. Come to the site and look up Reiran, that's R-E-I-R-A-N, for your bass/orchestration needs. Also, keep on being awesome, Nick. Hey, thanks, buddy. Will do. I hope to meet you and the family someday. That would be great. That'd be great. So you guys can go check out Mr. Ruby Elf on Fiverr if you need orchestration or if you need bass playing. Joseph Jimenez says, Nick Rekieta is Big Dick Daddy. I want you to scream at me the way you're screaming at Mad Black Atheist tonight. Jesus Christ, I heard the DJ scratch the record when you started shouting 100% moist. Oh boy. Well, not necessarily the intended result, but we'll talk about it in just a minute. The DCV Titan says, don't bring up the site, but I'd like to shout out a kickstart for the game Virtue Signal, the game of social justice, a card game parody of social justice activism. I feel it's a worthy mention as it was banned by OrcaCon. So there you go. Virtue Signal, the game of social justice. Don't bring up the site. Okay, I won't bring up the site. Morty J says, good evening from Texas, Nick. Was curious if you're going to cover the situation Blizzard has gotten into since you're a huge advocate of free speech. Yeah, that'll be tonight. I'll just touch on it briefly right now. How's that? If you are unaware, Blizzard has just gone ahead and suspended a Hearthstone player for the Hearthstone player's support of Hong Kong. Apparently, a bunch of companies have realized that Hong Kong is that China is an emerging market in many ways. They are in many ways a horrific regime. I mean, when you really start getting into how China deals with its people and what it does to ethnic minorities, you can really draw some scary inferences, for example. But China is also an economic powerhouse. It is full of well over 1 billion people, and 1 billion people will buy cell phones, right? 1 billion people, there's 1 billion customers waiting to buy a cell phone, and most importantly, a cell phone that might play Diablo Immortals. So what happens when you support the freedom resistance of Hong Kong, who is a nation that does not want to subject itself to the, I guess, totalitarian experience, the full totalitarian experience that China is offering, and they would prefer to remain independent and free. When you support that, China says, hey, we got a lot of customers here. We're investors in your company. Maybe you need to think about not allowing this guy to do this. And so Blizzard banned him. And that's a pretty cowardly act. It's a very cowardly act from Blizzard. And it's shameful that they would do that. It's shameful that there appears to be some Chinese influence over Blizzard's decisions to allow speech. And this is why, let's make no mistake, this is one of the reasons why we can't, how do I say this? We can't just bow at the altar of private companies acting privately when those private actions severely impact the ability of another to exercise their rights. Rights that we and the founders found so fundamental to human existence that they revolted against the largest empire on earth at the time, paid in blood to purchase the liberty that they got, and then fought to maintain and spread that liberty to others. Like the idea that we should just say, well, these private companies. Now, I'm not saying someone should intervene in Blizzard's actions here, but at what point do we say, okay, wait a minute though? Like, you actually do, and let's remind people, I was talking with a friend about this the other day. These companies propose a contract, right? You have a terms of use or terms of service that you click agree to, and you are held to that terms of service. In fact, you're held beyond that terms of service, because even though they have one, technically speaking, most companies can ghost you without any reference to the terms of service at all. But they do have a terms of service. And the interesting thing is, we never try to apply these terms of service to companies. But they basically say, so long as you do these things, as you engage in these activities and you avoid these activities, we will allow you to use our service. That's actually a contract. They don't have to allow you to use their service, and you don't have to abide by those things. But the interesting thing that occurs with a contract is each party is supposed to sacrifice its right, sacrifice its otherwise acceptable rights, and act in a specific way because of the contract. Now, for some reason, and I will freely admit that this is the case, we have said that these terms of use, terms of service contracts are basically, the way they function is one party has to obey and the other party has no obligation to do so, because the other party has no obligation to provide the service in the first place. That's kind of true in how it works out. But this isn't true in how most contracts work. Think if we applied this to cars, right? Like, if you go to buy a car, okay, and you agree to undertake the purchase of the car, and they agree to undertake the sale of the car to you, and you fulfill your end and you put the money forward, they're obligated to give you that car or to return value for what you gave them. So if something happens to the car, but you've paid them, they have to refund you the money, as long as they haven't delivered on their performance yet. Now, we don't do this with other companies, but let's get the idea that you do, like you go to buy the car, okay? And you've got a bag of cash that equals the amount, but instead of using all hundreds, you added some 50s and some 20s in. And then they said, wait, we don't want 50s and 20s. We just wanted 100s. And you say, but that's not in the agreement. The agreement is, if I bring you this much legal currency, you will then exchange that legal currency for a car. And they say, well, but we don't have to do business with you. Peace. Not so fast. Like you performed your agreement. Them not performing the agreement may cause you damage. You may be able to force them to perform on the agreement, especially if it's not a particularly artful performance. Like, you can't make a performing artist, like a drummer or a musician or something, you can't force them to perform if they're not going to, but they have to compensate you the value of what's lost. So they have their own risk there. But a car is just a car for the most part. Like, you could buy another one from another company, sure, but they have to compensate you for the time that you put in, for missed opportunity of some other thing. There are all sorts of little damages that may arise in this. But we don't do that with these adhesion contracts in terms of service. For example, if you get thrown off of Twitter and they allege you broke the rules and you say, I didn't do what you say they did, for example, how do we hold Twitter accountable? Because Twitter says you can use our service so long as you follow these rules. And they say, well, you violated the rules, so you're off the service. But if you didn't violate the rules, isn't that a breach? Listen, I'm not making a legal conclusion here, because the legal answer typically is no. They have a right to deal with whomever they want. But they're not really dealing with whomever they want. They're dealing with everyone who comes in and says, yes, I accept these terms. Now I can use your service. Now we've got an agreement. And it should be legally binding in both ways, but we're noticing it's only binding in one way. And this is why the courts don't really like adhesion contracts. It's one of the reasons. But and this is a long tangent from Blizzard, but this is something that's been kind of brewing, and something I want to talk about more going forward is we maybe need to alter our judicial outlook on these types of things. Because if Twitter wants to be held out as this platform where people can come, and so long as they abide by X, Y, and Z, they get to participate in the services, then Twitter should be obligated to provide those services to people who comply with X, Y, and Z. And if they say you don't, then you should be able to channel that. Bringing that back to Blizzard, now the Hearthstone player, I can't imagine that there's a thing that says you cannot openly support Hong Kong against China in the Blizzard terms of service. Maybe there is. But I haven't seen anything like that so far. So do we as a nation and as consumers, do we sit by and keep letting these companies abuse what they purport to be a contractual relationship that you enter into? And you are binding yourself to those terms. You are. Like that's if you were to try and argue that you didn't violate their terms and they say you did, they will win if you actually violate the terms. You're bound to them, and the court has held those terms to be applicable to whomever clicks agree, even if they didn't read it. So this is a big question. I think Blizzard is making a very big mistake. But one person who I know would be more interesting to talk to about it would be Mark Kern. Unfortunately, my Twitter was nuked, and contacting Mark Kern isn't as easy as it was, but I'm going to see if I have an alternative method to get back to him. I have a couple ideas, but I would like to invite Mark Kern on the show to talk about Blizzard's activity, what he thinks about it, because he's a very smart guy who knows a whole lot more about the inner workings of the video game industry, and particularly with Blizzard. And may even still know people at Blizzard, and he might be able to give us some information about what's going on inside the company as well. But I will reach out to Mark, and I would love to talk to him again. It's been a while, and so that's something I'll be attempting to do over the next several days, and I'll keep you guys apprised of it. But thanks for the very long question, or for the question that supported a very long answer. Wasn't expecting it, but I have been meaning to talk about it. Drax says, completely agree with the changes. While I appreciate the Vic coverage, hell, that's why I came here in the first place. I stayed and support the channel for Chad Dad, Big Brain, Drexel interviews, etc. So there you go. Asher Shill says, good evening, Nick. Here's some shekels for the whiskey fund. Hey, thanks, buddy. I'm looking forward to the future content. Hey, awesome. Very, very enlightening, or very encouraging. Blaine20 says, my nephew's wife is related to a Florida gun rights lobbyist. My dad is trying to get in contact with him. Let me know if you might want a packed panel. I don't know if I'd bring him on this first stream. The first stream, I want to get to know this attorney and her practice and all of that stuff, and I'd like to get her perspective. But there are several people who I would love to talk to on a Second Amendment panel, and I think I could put together a really good one if they're interested. So let me know. West Nile Chan says, in every game voice chat, shout Taiwan #1 in your best Chinese accent. You'll trigger at least one Chinaman. Dude, Asian American, please. Nick, show the people how it's done. I don't know if I have a best Chinese accent. It'd be wholly offensive. So, with that said, oh wait, I think there was a Streamlabs donation. Oh wait, no, that was from yesterday. Perfect. Okay. Sweet. All right, let's move into discussing the kill stream tonight with Mad Black and Ethan Ralph. So, just so we're all aware of this, I will likely not be personally bringing up Mad Black. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing a lot of content on him. I didn't really want the dramatic situation. Don't intend to stay and linger in that situation. No intent to capitalize on it. But I was on the kill stream tonight to discuss things with him personally. And I'd like to talk about how that goes. How that went. How that goed. If you want, you can go over to DLive and check out the archive. I don't know how long it takes the archive to process over there, but you can go ahead and I believe the archives stay up over on DLive on the Killstream channel, and you can check it out. So, long story short, Ethan Ralph invited NBA onto the Killstream to discuss the events of the past couple days. Notable instances of the events were NBA threatening to straight crippen murder a whole bunch of people, order NBA to or have NBA make all sorts of accusations and threats against a whole mess of people. And one of the people specifically named was me. In fact, saying that I need to train my children to duck and dodge bullets, etc. And that was a lovely event that occurred. NBA has very publicly apologized for what he said. That he didn't mean any of it. He wasn't. He was just upset or whatever, and got wrapped up in the moment. And said he apologized and said what he said about me and my family was not okay, not correct, or whatever. I have accepted that apology. I did that on the stream the other night, forgave him or whatever. And then I also did that on the kill stream tonight, but I still wanted to talk to him about it. So that said, here's how the show went, in my opinion. I was listening the whole time, and I did tell Ralph that I would be available if he wanted to have me on the kill stream, and I would kind of just lurk around. If he wanted to bring me on, he could, but that eventually did happen after Ralph got permission from Mad Black to bring me on. And to Mad Black's credit, he said, sure, go ahead, I'll talk to him. So, which was very nice of him to do so. Prior to me coming on, Mad Black was talking about what got him to the incident, and I personally believe, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's malicious or anything like that, he was kind of conflating and misrepresenting what happened a little bit, and I have theories as to why, but they're theories. Look, people are going to do what they're going to do, but he was misrepresenting and how he reacted to other people and then blamed me. I felt that was a little bit disingenuous. As I listened to him explain that he'd been doxxed over a year ago, that all these people had accused him of things, that a parody account of him was believed by someone or something, that he was a leader being accused of something someone else did. And if all of these things sound very familiar, it's because they're all things that Mad Black has said about me, right? Except not in the friendly way, but in the way of Nick Rekieta is the leader of X, and he needs to have responsibility for that thing. Specifically, he wanted me to tell people, which people I don't know, but people in general, to stop harassing him and his family, which is ludicrous, of course, because one, I never harassed him or his family, never asked anyone to, don't know anyone who did, would never do that, have never supported anything like that. So, but I was apparently supposed to make it stop, or at least say something about it, which, as you guys know, I say don't harass people all the time, but I also don't, I'm not in control of anybody. And I don't want to be. I've never wanted to have that responsibility. So, after that, he went on to mention that he was talking about other people with the death threats, but my name kind of got brought into it. I believe that literally 0%, mainly because Teach Yo Kids to Duck is pretty directed at people with children, not generic people who might be harassing you somewhere. And also my name was mentioned explicitly. So whether or not he meant it that way, I don't know, but I felt he was being a little bit disingenuous. He did mention that the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation had contacted him and said not to bring me up ever again, but they weren't bringing criminal charges against him or anything like that. That remains to be seen. They have not contacted me. I have not spoken with anybody in Tennessee law enforcement. I have not reached out to them. They haven't reached out to me. If they did, I would strongly suggest that I tend to not speak to police. So that said, that's what he says. They said they weren't going to press any charges. They just said don't talk again. But really, guys, according to him, he deleted all of his channels and all of that content because he just didn't care. He just doesn't care about YouTube. He just doesn't care about the content. It has nothing to do with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation or anything else. He just doesn't care. He never did. Never cared about anything. That's why he never cared to make these videos. That's why he never cared to do any of that. He just didn't care. So, you know, who knows? Who knows? Seemed a little dishonest. Let me read these from Matt the Beast, and then I'll get back into it. Matt the Beast says, the broken rule is as follows. Engaging in any act that, in Blizzard's sole discretion, brings you into public disrepute, offends a portion of the group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard's image will result in removal from Grandmasters and reduction of the player's prize total to $0 USD, in addition to other remedies which may be provided under the handbook and Blizzard's website terms. And you know, the guy should honestly consider, if he lost real monetary value, he should consider a lawsuit. If he wants to stand for free speech, if he wants to stand against these ridiculous terms, that doesn't say that, like, well, anything that brings Blizzard into disrepute. A Hearthstone player saying, I support Taiwan, does nothing to damage Blizzard's brand, and to say otherwise is insane. That's insane. You might have an argument that a prominent tournament player saying gas the Jews or something, that you might have an argument that would damage Blizzard's brand. But unless Blizzard is an actual sponsor of the person with like their name on a t-shirt and that can be clipped out or whatever, that might be a little bit closer. I don't know how they do their you know, their professional gaming stuff, but I find it very hard to believe that a guy saying free Hong Kong is damaging to Blizzard's brand more than Blizzard removing the guy who said free Hong Kong is damaging to their brand. So, little bit weird on this. If the guy, I don't know anything about the guy. I heard he's from Hong Kong. I don't know if he's a U.S. citizen. I don't know if he lives in the U.S. I don't know where he is. But it would be very interesting to see a challenge to these laws. Now, would it produce the economic results that would outweigh the economic costs? Unlikely. Unlikely, right? Would it even be successful? At this point, I don't know that it would, just because of how the system is set up, but it would be great to see people start fighting back. It would be really, really fantastic to see people fight back against this type of stuff. So, but yeah, I'll be looking into it and trying to get more information, because it's a very interesting story from one of the largest video game developers on the planet, who has control over a lot of our entertainment, and who insists that you have to have an always connected sort of thing to engage in their product. So, like, imagine you get banned from Hearthstone. Is he banned from Diablo? Overwatch? Is he banned from all of these things? I have to imagine he is. That's something you couldn't do 25 years ago. You couldn't ban someone from using a product that they bought at a store. But yes, very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. Jason Stevens, and this is in Hong Kong dollars. So this is, I want to get to this one because of that specifically. Says, who cares about this masters of business crap? What about all these businesses collaborating with the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party? Isn't there some McCarthy era laws on the books on cooperating with the CCCP or the CCP? I don't know, but typically we do have the freedom to associate with whatever political party we want, unless it's, I mean, Republican. You can't do that, but no, these are jokes. You typically do have the ability to associate freely with political movements, even if they're awful or hateful. Interestingly enough, that really seems to only apply to leftist hateful groups. Not trying to tread there, but it's kind of true. It's kind of true. And if you don't believe that, just ask the guys in Charlottesville, right? North Carolina, who were derided by the media, and maybe rightfully, maybe not rightfully. I don't know. I don't know any of them. I don't know their beliefs. I don't really care. I don't really care about it. But the way they were immediately identified, targeted, and attacked by both the larger public media and the smaller public media was alarming. Was alarming, because it used to be that you could actually express political opinions, and just because someone doesn't like them doesn't mean you get to ruin their life over it. But now we have an unprecedented ability to do so. We have, think about this. Again, think about how this stuff works together, okay? And how the expansion and expression of this stuff can actually manifest into someone's life. You're you. You hold some position that is now determined to be hateful, okay? You go to a rally to decide whether, or to support something that is associated in some way with that position, okay? You go on a news crew shows up and puts you on camera without your consent, because you're in public. They can do that, but they put you on camera without your consent. Now, an interested journalist comes up and looks at your photo and says, I can find this guy, and then I will do a news story on them. I will contact their employer. I will tell their employer that they are engaging in the wrong thoughts. Okay? So now you're fired. not only are you fired, but your name shows up in national media Google searches forever. You'll always, and it says, awful, racist, hateful murderer, so-and-so is this person. That's the first Google result. And you're just a normie, so you can't SEO that out. Plus, why should you have to SEO your own name for showing up at an event? So now you're out the job. Well, now Blizzard, let's say your hobby is you go home and play Diablo. Well, now you play a lot of Diablo. In fact, you play so much Diablo that you go up on the leaderboards, you get very good at it, and you start live streaming it on Twitch because, well, I mean, you got to do something. You're out of a job. So you start live streaming it on Twitch, and your channel is just related to this content. Well, but then Blizzard says, well, wait a minute. This is a person streaming Diablo. They're associated with the Blizzard brand. They're monetizing Blizzard's brand. And further, they hold these views that we believe are reprehensible. We got to get rid of this guy. Now you're gone. So now your job, your entertainment, your hobby is gone. Why? Your thoughts, your speech, and your association. 3 of the things that were the most important things that our country set out to protect. SEO is search engine optimization. That's where you would pay some company a bunch of money to try and get your counter the bad results of a Google search, for example. So these 3 things, your thoughts, your speech, and your associations, were held sacrosanct by the people who founded this country, have been held sacrosanct for years and years and years. And just imagine how angry the left got when Joseph McCarthy did say, do you even associate with communists? Have you ever associated with a communist? They thought that was the worst possible thing because it came from a government. However, they're now fine with a new McCarthyism so long as that new McCarthyism comes from an unelected business with massive influence over your daily life and leans left. That's fine. As long as that's the case, that's fine. But if you, like, let's say you oppose LGBTQ rights, or shouldn't say it that way. Let me say it sympathetically. Let's say you oppose LGBTQ privileges, right? You oppose an LGBTQ agenda and you gather with a bunch of people who do so. And then you decide that your business doesn't want people who support a pro-LGBTQ agenda associating with them. And you axe them. Do you have the right to do that? Supreme Court's talking about that right now on the federal side, but on the state side, almost universally no. Almost universally no. It's still a political opinion, right? Like, free Hong Kong is a political opinion issued by this guy. Now, if a guy said, I love gays, and Blizzard were to axe him from their service, he would have a civil rights claim against Blizzard. That'd be, I mean, and if he didn't have a civil rights claim, or if that civil rights claim was denied, we would have nothing but a full-on media explosion about it. And again, it doesn't matter if you are left or right, but we have to realize how this is playing out. Certain leftist opinions are allowed to promulgate as political opinions that are protected. Certain political opinions on the right are not. And you may even agree that these opinions are good and these opinions are bad, or vice versa. But what you can't agree to is that this is being applied equally. It's not. And if it were applied in the other way, there would be lawsuits on it. So it's a very interesting sort of problem that we've got. A problem of consistency in the courts, a problem of equal treatment and equal protection. But yeah. Okay. Going back, cycling all the way back to Mad Black. Cycling all the way back to Mad Black. After Mad Black had said his piece and what I felt was a little bit disingenuous and misrepresenting things. And let me be very clear. Mad Black today said that I unequivocally did not do any of the things that he was suggesting that I did. Suggesting by inference. Suggesting by association. That he flat out told me I had bad actors on my squad or whatever. Was that the words? Or on my crew? I don't remember. But there were bad actors in my crew that were doing things to his family. Despite, again, I have no idea anything about that. That's what he sent to me in a private message. That I had bad actors in my crew or in my squad or whatever. Associates of mine. And then I needed to get control of that. So, despite all of that, publicly today on the kill stream, he said, Nick didn't do any of this stuff. I don't think he did any of this stuff. None of that's true. Blah, 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 blah. So then after that, Ralph asked Mad Black if I could come on. I did come on. We had a little bit of a discussion. I reiterated my forgiveness and said, look, I accept your apology. It's good. But I think you're being a little bit, I think you're not telling the full truth here and you're kind of misrepresenting what happened. As I was talking, he interrupted me. Now, important point here. When Ralph interrupted Mad Black earlier, Mad Black said, hey, don't interrupt me. I'm a man. I'm talking. Don't interrupt me. Blah, 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 blah. So when I was talking and Mad Black tried to cut me off, I definitely put that right back on him and said, no. You don't get to cut me off. No, thank you. It was a little more strongly worded than that, but that was the gist of it. So he waited politely afterwards for me to finish my point. So that was interesting. But at the end of the day, Mad Black says he's done. He's done with YouTube. I think he said for a year. He's done with all this. That's why he deleted his channels anyways, because he doesn't care. He's going on vacation. He's going to buy a new home or something, and then they're going to move, and then they're going on vacation. They're totally going on vacation, and you totally won't see him for at least a year. And when he comes back, he's not bringing any of this stuff up ever again. So that's what he has told me. I don't know. I struggle a little bit with believing him, mainly just because he kind of said that the other day and then came out. I did confront him about him saying that he was going to make up stuff and say that I raped my children, for example. And he's like, no, I said I was going to make that up. I was going to lie about it because other people are lying about stuff. So therefore it's okay to do that. One thing I guess is very important for him to note is that's actually not okay to do. Let me be very clear on that. Accusing someone of raping anyone, much less their own children, even as a I'm gonna make up lies about you type thing, is not an okay thing to do. It's not a legally wise thing to do, and it's certainly not morally or ethically correct to do that. But important takeaways from that stream. He agreed on that stream to fight Hirohei. He did agree to fight Hirohei on that stream. Now, he turned down Hirohei, I believe, on his own channel, his own public statements. But on the stream, Mad Black has agreed to fight Hirohei, which, and Ralph said we should get it done in Knoxville because he knows a guy who's a fight promoter down there, obviously from the Andy Worski and Tonka drama. And I tell you what, I've been to Knoxville twice this year. I never thought I would go to Knoxville in my entire life. I had no reason to, but I would go back in a heartbeat to see Mad Black and Hirohei fight. And I would buy all of the popcorn. So there's that. As for the flagging, Mad Black did address the allegations of flagging in Executive Order 66, saying that was basically a joke. Order 66 was a joke, and he doesn't know who the flagging was. He just knows it wasn't him. But he only did that but he didn't do it. But they only did it for him, even though he didn't ask for it. They did that because other people did it to him. That's the most important thing. Other people flagged him, so he went and flagged people that he thought needed to be flagged. But he didn't do that. Other people did it, and he doesn't know who it was. Or something. You guys really need to go check out what he said on that, because I can't unravel who did the flagging, who ordered the flagging, who didn't have any involvement in the flagging. I can't unravel that at all. But you know, that's what he said. He said he didn't do any and he didn't order any. You guys have to make up your own mind on that. Or don't. Or you could just not care about it, because at the end of the day, that's kind of a big question, is who cares about the Mad Black thing? Oh, it was very important that he did say he doesn't care about any of this stuff. He never cared about Vic, doesn't care about Kick Vic. These are the other takeaways. Doesn't care about I Stand With Vic, never cared about it. It was just content to him. He never, ever cared. So, I guess a takeaway from that is every time he said that it was bad that people were lying, grifting, stealing, cheating, making money, doing fake content, all that stuff, he never actually cared and apparently never meant it. It's just how people talk on YouTube, according to Mad Black. But you guys can go watch that Killstream archive and you guys can make up your minds on what he meant. I'm not 100% sold on that, but that's what he said. That's what he said. I'm trying to, as accurately as possible, relay what he said and let you guys know. But I do encourage you to watch the kill stream. Another big takeaway, he said specifically that I was stealing money, but he said, I don't think you're stealing money. I know you're not stealing money. That's just how we talk on YouTube. You insult other people and stuff like that. So Mad Black no longer and never did think that I am stealing any money from anybody. Apparently. So that's that. I don't know, man. I don't know. At the end of the interview, you know, I reiterated that I accepted his apology, and wished him well on his vacation, said peace, and that was my deal. And then he graciously stayed for a little bit longer on the kill stream, took some phone calls, took some insults from the callers, and then he had to go to get onto his vacation. So that's a summary of the Mad Black stream on the kill stream. Again, I would recommend watching it. Ralph does put on a good show. Undeniable that Ralph puts on a good show, and go give him a watch. Or don't, I guess, but I like him. So, and then I talked with Ralph a little bit later, agreed to come back on the show at some point to discuss some cases that he's looking at, and I'm going to try and find more information about the Mercedes Carrera criminal charges. I believe there's some stuff happening this month, but I don't know the specifics of it. The documents aren't easily publicly available. If they are publicly available in California, I may try and get a hold of them and discuss that case. It's very interesting. And I have a feeling that trial will have lunacy involved if they don't settle. If they don't settle, I think the guy's name on DLive is The Ralph Retort. The Ralph Retort. It has about 9,000 subscribers. It's pretty easy to find that way. It's a good sized channel on DLive's there. So the Ralph Retort, you can check it out. And Gator was on the show. Unfortunately, Dame Pesos was not. I was hoping Dame Pesos would be on the show to talk to Mad Black. That was the one thing I really wished would have happened. But you know, you can't have Christmas every day. All right. So Brian Dewig says, since it was a media broadcast, does that affect their censorship in any way? I don't see how it would, and I still don't agree with it. I don't know if that answers your question. I mean, the reality is they under current interpretation of the law pretty much have any right to ban anybody from anything ever. We've just forfeited rights to companies. We did. And Republicans, people on the right, we're guilty of this. We're guilty of this, of saying it's a private company and private parties' right to contracts. But in our short-sighted support of that, and believe me, I am not saying people on the left and who are anti-corporation, anti-company as a matter of principle, I'm not saying that they're correct in this. However, in our short-sighted rush to support companies and industry, we have allowed them to take away freedoms in lieu of government. We've supplanted the government's risk for taking away our speech, for taking away our liberty, from taking away our ability to buy things or bank or go places. We just said, well, it's fine if this private company does it. And that may be coming back to bite us. And I think the right really does bear some responsibility on that. And that's speaking as a longtime supporter of businesses and the right to contract. But we're doing that and maybe going too far. The pendulum sometimes swings too far. So. Next, we've got Pendergast. 21 says, the left, right no longer want to associate. We need a divorce. The longer the leftists hold institutional power / take away freedom, the more violent proceeding will be. Proprietarian Institute, let 1,000 nations bloom. Maybe that could also be a huge mess. Solid Rocket Rose said, had some Douglas and Todd bourbon. Tasty run, but I'm sticking to Bullet Rye as my go-to, as well as newfound to me Sexton Irish whiskey. If you're ever in Vegas, hit me up to chat whiskey and 40K lore. Oh man, that'd be great. First of all, I've never been to Las Vegas. It'd be fun anyway. But second of all, whiskey and 40K in Vegas would be just brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. Kashi69 snitched about my Discord? No! All right. So let's move now into this next segment, which is going to be, hold on, I gotta make sure my Streamlabs is gonna work the way I want it to. Oh, perfect. Here we go. Let's find ways to discuss some of these old lawsuits. Transition. Oh, it's beautiful now. That's a joke. All right. So this is a lawsuit we covered back when it was filed. This is in December of 2018. I think we covered it right around Christmas time. It was filed the 21st. This is the Wade Calendar, individually and on behalf of the Hatch LLC, versus Randall Pitchford II and Gearbox Software. Many of you guys have asked about this case and what happened with it, and I will bring that up in a minute. But let's read the preliminary statement, and then we'll just this. We're not going to go through this. There's a whole stream on this show or on this lawsuit, and where I went through this entire complaint, and you can check that out. There's a whole stream on it. I'm not going to rehash it now, other than this sort of introduction. Okay. Randy Pitchford is a manipulative and morally bankrupt CEO who shamefully exploited his oldest friend, a Texas attorney and military veteran named Wade Callender. You want loaded for bear. Wade came swinging in on this one. No one should be fooled by Randy Pitchford's incessant misdirection. It was Randy Pitchford himself who breached his fiduciary duties by exploiting Gearbox employees and property to fund Pitchford's private cravings. For example, while Randy was denying employee raises predicated on low cash reserves, Randy secretly saddled Gearbox's employees with the burden of repaying a private personal $12 million bonus that Randy Pitchford rerouted from Gearbox's publisher directly to Randy's side entity, Pitchford Entertainment Media and Magic. Unbeknownst to Gearbox employees, Randy Pitchford arranged to shift the burden of Randy's long-standing multi-million-dollar bonus to the very same employees from whom he hid the arrangement. This obvious breach of fiduciary duty is just the tip of the Pitchford iceberg, and Wade Callender has made it very clear that he is not satisfied receiving just the tip. So this was a lawsuit. Many of you are familiar with Gearbox. This was a back and forth lawsuit between these parties. Callender filed against Pitchford. Pitchford countersued Wade Callender. There were allegations of all kinds of things, including a thumb drive with a bunch of child pornography on it. All of this stuff was brought up in the very heated back and forth lawsuit. And where did it go? Where did it go? Settled. Absolutely settled. It is no longer a case. Did I get the hold on. It is. They just went ahead and fixed that one. No big deal. Gearbox. Okay, here we go. There it is. We will go through this. This is a 6-page document, but only 3 pages or 4 pages matter. So we're going to go through this, and this will explain what happened. So, spoiler alert, they settled it, and you're not going to learn too much from the settlement. But what's really interesting is how these things go out. This was a borderline public lawsuit, right? This was boiling over. It was being reported. Major allegations of very criminal and very personally damaging activity were made against these parties. But let's take a look. So here we have, this was filed October 2nd. So this just happened. This just happened. Agreed motion for dismissal with prejudice. Now this just happened following some discovery. Let me see if I can see kind of what occurred in this case. I believe there was some depositions. The certificate of deposition. Let's see. What do we have? Okay, there was a deposition of the Gearbox through a corporate executive. The deposition is not actually available. But if you go through a deposition and then settle afterwards, one of the parties thought that deposition was really, really bad for me. That's all that happened. And maybe we need to settle this right now. I don't know which one. But let's... Oh, excuse me. There's quite a bit of stuff that actually occurred in this case. I'll have to go through and see if there's anything juicy in here. Yeah. We'll have to go through. There's quite a few pages of stuff on this, but this is the resolution. I don't know what other juicy stuff was said, but I think the idea is that they wanted to keep some of that juicy content behind the wall of public obscurity. So here we go. Comes now. Plaintiff and counter defendant Wade Callender individually, plaintiff Wade Callender on behalf of the Hatch LLC, defendant/counter plaintiff Gearbox Software LLC, and defendant Randall Pitchford collectively hereinafter the parties in the above styled and numbered case. and move this court to dismiss plaintiff's claims against defendant and counter plaintiff's claims against counter defendant, and in support would respectfully show the court as follows. The parties have resolved all claims between them and append to this agreed motion for dismissal with prejudice the statement attached as Exhibit A. And we do have the statement. Accordingly, the parties respectfully ask this court to enter an order dismissing all of plaintiff's claims against defendant with prejudice and all of counter plaintiff claims against counter defendant with prejudice, and stating that each party shall bear its respective court costs. So we're both backing out. We both paid our own legal fees and we're done. This means nothing about what settlement has happened. Okay, so maybe you pay your own court costs, but you get $1 million, or maybe you pay your own court costs and not pay the other attorney's court or the other party's court costs, but you pay them $1 million in settlement. You won't ever know. And it's likely that these guys have a non-disclosure agreement about it. Wherefore, premises considered: plaintiff and counter defendant Wade Callender, plaintiff Wade Callender on behalf of the Hatch, Gearbox Software, defendant Randy Pitchford, requests the court dismiss the claims with prejudice. And then it's submitted by all the attorneys. Who do we have? James Bell, Blake Beckham, and Barry Moskowitz. And then here's the statement. Very basic statement. Upon review of all the evidence in the case, it was of the opinion of counsel that the evidence exonerated Randy Pitchford from the allegations against him. All misunderstandings between the parties have been corrected and apologies were exchanged. Because the parties are mutually bound by confidentiality, no additional statements will be forthcoming. So don't worry. The evidence shows that there's no child porn on a thumb drive. The evidence showed that he didn't steal that money and lie about it. The evidence showed that they didn't withhold money from the Hatch Corporation. And one of these things is true. Either the evidence showed that, or there was a sufficient amount of money to say that the evidence showed that. One of those things happened. Who knows which one it was? Guns Beer Freedom says, good evening, Nick. I've missed your streams. Could you wish my good friend Tim a happy 6th Tay Day and Uwa Omo. Thank you and God bless. Yes, Tim. Happy 6th Tay Day. And Ua OMO. There you go. So that's the story of Gearbox Software, and something that was so heated and pitched at the beginning resolved with just a sputter. It did. And ultimately, like bringing this into Vic's case, I think there's a very real possibility that if there were an appeal, and if things got past that appeal, that very likely there would be a sputter of some sort. Now, maybe not. Maybe the accusing parties are so insane that they would maintain their defamatory statements and positions rather than try and close it out, and in turn face all of the wrath of discovery and all of that. Or maybe they'd settle. It's really hard to know what will motivate people until they really face the risks. So that is Gearbox. Okay, let me pull up the next thing we've got there. Okay. Here we go. Oh, wait, let me read a couple super chats. The Big Red Bear says, a left-right divide is short-sighted. That's how you get places like Saudi Arabia and Iran. People are born and influenced, but will have their own ideas. What's the solution? Kick them out years later? This would go badly. I'm of agreement. I know many people fatalistically believe there is no mending the left and the right, and they could be correct in that. I don't know, but I hope that's not the case. Secularis says, we're literally falling into a corporate oligarchy that both parties put in place to secure their own political equity. Yes, we are. Absolutely. Ironically, Deus Ex warned us about this. We all considered it a parody, and now we're living through it. And it will only get worse. Because the government can't invade your privacy, but all these companies can through a term of service that you're bound to, that they can exploit, but you can't hold against them. Think about that for a second. Maybe that's the way to frame this term of service. By having an Alexa in your home, for example, you implicitly consent to the recording of all of your conversation that Amazon can use for its own business purposes. Now, sure, they can't just disclose what you said to your neighbor or something like that. They can't call up your spouse and say that you're cheating on them. They can't call your business partners and say that you're considering a new job. They can't do that. Except what they can do is just listen and store and collect everything that you say because you agreed to it in the terms of service. And that is securing ostensibly your right to use Amazon. Okay? Like your right to use Amazon services. But there are people who are banned from Amazon services. Someone has sent me a story about a guy who writes sort of like choose your own adventure RPGs, right? They're choose your own adventure RPG books. They're a little more substantial than the kids' books, and they're games that you play. This guy's banned from Amazon. Could he buy an Alexa? What about prior to being banned from Amazon? Were they collecting all of the data that he used whenever he went on the website? Were they looking at the cookies on his computer to determine what they should advertise to him? Were they doing all of that stuff? Because that's what the terms of service gave them the right to do. But then they kicked him off. They didn't uphold their end of the bargain. Now, maybe he severely violated the terms. I don't know. I'm told he didn't, but I don't know. I don't know the full story about it. But what is that? I mean, we do actually surrender something to these companies with the understanding that we're getting value in return for that surrender. The problem is we're not guaranteeing that value for ourselves when we let them just throw us off. Like, for example, right now, YouTube is collecting your viewing habits, right? And you have a term of service or term of use that allows you or allows YouTube to collect those viewing habits and then recommend content to you and all sorts of stuff. And then Google will also use that data for other business purposes. They're making a fortune off of you, or more appropriately, they're saving a fortune in market research off of you. And it's all categorized by demographics. I have an idea of just how many men versus women watch these shows. I have age breakdowns of both of those. I have location breakdowns, not specific. I can't tell where you live, but I can tell where a percentage of my users, what state or country they come from and stuff like that. Google has more specific info than I do, for sure. But they could throw you off of YouTube. They really could. If you piss them off enough, they could probably ban you by IP or do a MAC address ban on your device. How would you get around it? If they ever found out that you had another address, they could ban that. But they gathered all this stuff. They got the value from that adhesion contract, and then they denied you the value you were supposed to get in return. It's an interesting sort of thing that we're just accepting. But okay. Sorry, I'm gonna try not to rant about this stuff too much anymore. It's very, very annoying. The Big Fee says, I've been watching your streams since the Vic stuff started. I usually fall asleep to your soothing voice. On the channel changes, I hope that you keep the long form streams here instead of archiving them. View counts matter. Well, the idea will ultimately be that removing the streams will have a very limited impact on view counts. As that happens. I'm not going to just take all the streams and move them in one day. That would be a terrible plan. Silly that YouTube does things in that way, but that's not how it's going to be. Like I said, very long process. And the idea is to increase growth and exposure, not decrease it. So, okay. So this is a different case that we covered a while back. This was filed March of 2018. This is after the Parkland High School shooting. This is the National Rifle Association of America versus Pam Bondi, Rick Swearingen, and the basically as in their capacity as representatives of Florida. So let's take a look at the intro to refresh people's memories, and then I'll tell you where they are. Plaintiff, the National Rifle Association of America Incorporated, by and through the undersigned attorneys, files his complaint against the above-captioned defendants in their official capacities as state officials responsible under Florida law for administering and enforcing the state laws and regulations governing the sale of firearms. Plaintiff seeks declaratory and injunctive relief, a declaration that Florida's law banning adult, law-abiding citizens under the age of 21, so we're talking 18, 19, and 20-year-olds, from purchasing firearms of any kind is unconstitutional under the 2nd and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution, and an injunction compelling defendants to refrain from enforcing that invalid ban and to allow plaintiffs' members to purchase firearms to defend themselves, their families, and their homes. In support of its complaint against defendants, plaintiff hereby alleges as follows. Long story short, following Parkland, Florida passed a law that said that if you are between the ages of 18 and 20, you are not allowed to buy any firearm, handgun or otherwise. No licensing or anything will allow you to do it. You can't do it. You're done. You're old enough but too young. Old enough but too young. So, you have the right to possess a firearm from 18 to 20. From 18 to 21 years old. They didn't change that. I don't know if they actually could. But yeah, they said you can't do this. Can't buy one. All right? And that was because the Parkland shooter allegedly purchased a firearm at the age of 19. Legally purchased a firearm. So that's well, when I say legally, I meant he followed the legal process. His purchase was technically illegal because he purchased it with the intent to shoot up a bunch of people. So it was purchased in furtherance of a felony, all of that stuff, but whatever. Long and short, this person is suing for basically equal protection of laws, age-based discrimination that is unreasonable, because they should be able to purchase it as of 18 years old, is what they argued. Now, this case, I don't have a huge amount of information on what's going on other than this. And there's not a lot of documentation. This case is in a holding pattern right now, as far as I can tell. But the long and short is the NRA moved to add a defendant to the case, or a plaintiff to the case, not a defendant, a plaintiff to the case by the name of Jane Doe. They tried to add this person on condition of anonymity, and they moved the court for request. They moved the court with a request to proceed under a pseudonym of Jane Doe for this person. The court has denied that request. Okay, so NRA wants to add a female to the lawsuit. Now, this is the reason for this is because the people who allegedly attempted to purchase the firearms are females. That female NRA members between the ages of 18 and 21 who tried to purchase it. It's in the facts section here. Somewhere. Hold on. The NRA has 5 million members. Members are both male and female. They meet all other state or federal requirements. Members would purchase it, but for these things. Now, the reason they're trying to add someone is because there's a standing question here. Does the NRA have standing to sue on behalf of its members? Maybe, maybe not. But the long and short is they want to add a plaintiff who is a female Jane Doe, and they want to be able to proceed with anonymity for various reasons. They'd want to do that because mainly because if this girl's name is added to the lawsuit, she's going to get absolutely lambasted in the media as some hateful person. That's just how it's going to be. but they're trying to add this person because they want to foreclose the argument that they don't have standing to bring the suit because they can't prove that any damage has occurred because they're not a 19-year-old girl. So the National Rifle Association asked for a motion to appeal the denial of the right to proceed under pseudonyms. And I was having a hard time finding that appeal document. So I'm going to look into it further. But long and short of this is the case is ongoing. This case is still going. However, at this time, the Jane Doe has not been added to the lawsuit. So I'll be monitoring this case further to see if there are any updates. But the last update was in like July. So this is in really slow motion. But this is a pretty important case. It goes hand in hand with this case. This case is the Dick's Sporting Goods lawsuit brought by Tyler Watson. This was brought in Oregon State Court in Jackson County. Tyler Watson, similar thing. They passed a Dick's Sporting Goods. This is not government action. This is Dick's adopting a policy that they would only sell firearms to a 21-year-old, which Tyler Watson has asserted is age discrimination under the law, under the Oregon Human Rights Act, and particularly the section about public accommodations. So public accommodation section, if you don't know, is when that's what gives you right to enter a private business and them to not throw you out based on you being a particular thing, right? They hold themselves out as open to the public. This does not apply to private clubs. This does not apply to charities or anything like that. But public for-profit businesses are places generally of public accommodation. You can walk into the store and buy something and leave without presenting membership or any sort of ID, right? You go into a Walmart, and if Walmart says you can't be in here because you're black, you have a cause of action, typically speaking, under this sort of concept. Now, Tyler Watson went into Dick's Sporting Goods attempting to lawfully purchase a firearm, and Dick said, no, not because you're you. That would actually, they would have the right to say, you, this person, I do not trust to sell a firearm as a licensed firearm dealer, and I don't have to give you my reason. I just don't want to sell it. Instead, they say, you are under 21 years of age, and we are discriminating broadly against people between the ages of 18 and 20. We decide that they can't purchase, period. That's our store policy. Now, this one is, well, let me show you how this one has turned up. What? Oh, need this go away. Let's take a peek at this guy. Dick's Sporting Goods settles lawsuit over gun sale restrictions. So, go. Tyler Watson, a 20-year-old Oregonian, settled his age discrimination lawsuit last month against Dick's Sporting Goods. In February, the retailer changed its firearm policy, raising the minimum age to buy a gun to 21. Soon after the change, Watson attempted to buy a .22 caliber Ruger rifle and was turned away. Notice he went in to buy the least offensive possible rifle. Legal age to buy a gun in Oregon is 18, but Dick's made the decision to raise the minimum age after the store learned a 19-year-old school shooter in Parkland, Florida, had legally bought a firearm from one of its stores. The corporation encouraged the government to similarly raise the federal age for purchase. Also news, it has come out that Dick's Sporting Goods has allegedly destroyed something like $5 million worth of firearms. So if you like Dick's Sporting Goods because of their policy of, age discrimination and now destroying firearms that would otherwise be able to be purchased, if you like them lobbying the state to change age laws, if you're a shareholder of Dick's Sporting Goods and are very happy with their decisions to absolutely dominate your stock values, you have to make those decisions for yourself. But I know who I will not be buying things from in the future, which is unfortunate because they're kind of conveniently located for me. Look, dicks are always close. Lawyers for both Watson and Dix declined to comment, saying the settlement details are confidential. Jim Oleski, a professor at Lewis and Clark Law School specializing in anti-discrimination law, said people settle for a variety of reasons, but he thinks Watson had a good case against Dix. From the text of the statute, it looked like a very strong case, said Oleski. Dix probably agreed. Oleski said it's unusual that Dix hasn't changed its policy as a result of the settlement. Any other individual could go into one of their stores, attempt to make a purchase, and if they're turned away, bring a lawsuit, he said. The question is, why is Dix settling? Earlier this week, Forbes reported that Dix is considering removing all hunting gear from its stores and has already done so in 10 pilot stores. So not only no guns, but no hunting gear at all. So one of the major areas of sporting goods, which would be hunting, is just not a sporting good according to Dix anymore. Earlier this week, Walmart also raised the minimum age to buy a firearm, and Watson has a similar lawsuit pending against them. The trial is scheduled to start in January 2019. Oh man, I gotta find out how his Walmart suit is going. I'll try and find that for an upcoming show. Maybe that one hasn't settled yet. But there you go. That's how that one has turned out. I imagine Tyler Watson got some free firearms from Dix. I wouldn't be surprised at all, by the way, especially if they were going to decide to liquidate inventory. I think it'd be very interesting to see what happened there. But this was brought again in March of 2018, and that news article was from December of 2018. So it did take 9 months to settle that one out. But he probably got some firearms from Dix, probably some really, really nice ones, maybe a little money that says it's confidential. Don't tell anybody about this, and we're gonna pray really hard. Now, I think in the meanwhile, Dix has completely stopped selling those firearms, so no one's going to be able to walk into the store. And that's something that at the time the professor was saying it, he wouldn't have known that Dix was going to stop selling firearms. Let's wonder when they implemented that policy. Go away. Okay. Here we go. This is article this is just from 2 days ago. Dix destroyed $5 million worth of guns. When promoting his new book, the chief executive said the retailer was reviewing gun sales chain-wide. If we do these things and it saves one life, don't you think it's worth it? Well, I don't know. If you stop selling boxing gloves and it saves one life, is that worth it? Boxing's a dangerous sport. What about bikes or kayaks? If you stop one drowning because of your kayaks, this is not solid logic. If just one life, do you think it's worth it? We ignore this all the time, right? We eat at McDonald's even though people die from eating at McDonald's. Okay. Had destroyed over $5 million in military-style semi-automatic rifles and was reviewing whether it would continue to sell guns in its more than 720 stores. He was speaking with CBS Sunday Morning while promoting his new book, It's How We Play the Game. Okay. So there you go. So many people say to me, if we do what you want to do, it's not going to stop these mass shootings, Mr. Stack told CBS. And my response is, you're probably right, it won't. But if we do these things and it saves one life, do you think it's worth it? First of all, it won't save one life, but that's there. So they are still selling firearms, accordingly. But Mr. Stack told CBS he had already removed all guns from more than 100 Dick's stores and was considering expanding the ban to the rest of them. I wonder, I would not be surprised if the Oregon Dick's sporting goods were on that list. So, but that's, I just wanted to kind of wrap up where that case has ended up. I will look for the Walmart case. I think I have the initial one somewhere. I'll have to find it. All right, what's next on the list? This is an interesting case. This is Glenn Allen versus the Southern Poverty Law Center. Glenn Allen is an attorney, a very accomplished attorney. Glenn Allen was accused by the SPLC of being a racist. It got him fired from his position as a government attorney in Baltimore, and it's related to his work with an organization that was deemed by the SPLC to be a white nationalist organization. This lawsuit is still ongoing at present, although it's stuck in a very, very weird limbo that has been going on for quite some time. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's read this intro. It's a good one, if I remember. Providence has endowed humanity with the ability to grow and change. Indeed, we have a moral obligation to grow and change as we learn new aspects of reality. At the pinnacle of the means by which we grow and change should be robust dialogue, open debate, an aversion to taboos, and genuine conversation. This is the theory of our remarkable American traditions of free expression, as embodied, among other ways, in the First Amendment. But there are also other approaches to inevitable human discord. One is to draw lines of political or cultural orthodoxy, develop massive surveillance networks and extensive dossiers, and severely punish perceived transgressors who cross those lines, seem to cross them, or even seem to think about crossing them. This is what we, of course, have been talking about. Barrick, Potok, and the SPLC, defendants in this case, have chosen this latter approach, motivated by lucrative fundraising aims and employing fundraising techniques decried across the political spectrum as deceptive. The SPLC's avowed goal, under the leadership of Barrick, Potok, and others, is to destroy, through public shaming, loss of employment, loss of reputation, and other severe harms, groups and persons the SPLC broadly defines as its political enemies. Glenn Allen, plaintiff in this case, is one of Barrick's, Potok's, and the SPLC's victims. The cause of free expression itself is another, for the SPLC has become one of the most effective forces in the country for stifling honest and robust debate on controversial issues. Barrick, Potok, and the SPLC are entitled to espouse their outlook forcefully. They are not entitled, however, to the following actions, all alleged and supported in this complaint: to receive, pay for, and use stolen documents, including confidential documents and documents protected by attorney-client privilege, to tortiously interfere with Allen's prospective advantage in employment; to defame him by publishing false statements that he was infiltrating the city of Baltimore's law department, or to masquerade as a 501c3 public interest law firm dedicated to a tax-exempt educational mission, when in reality the SPLC fails the basic requirements for this favored status because of its illegal actions, including numerous instances of mail and wire fraud, multiple violations of canons of professional ethics, including improper disclosure of confidential and privileged documents and failure to train its non-lawyer employees, orchestrations of violations of the constitutional rights of the organizations and individuals it targets, and sensationalist supermarket tabloid-style one-sided depictions of its victims. The reality is that Barrick, Potok, and the SPLC have perfected what the scholar Laird Wilcox, speaking of the SPLC, called ritual defamation, a way of harming and isolating people by denying their humanity and trying to convert them into something that deserves to be hated and eliminated. They accuse others of this, but utilize their enormous resources to practice it on a mass scale themselves. See paragraph 21 of this complaint. In a moment of candor, Defendant Potok, the editor-in-chief of the SPLC's intelligence report, boasted, "We see this political struggle, right? I mean, we're not trying to change anybody's mind. We're trying to wreck the groups. And we are very clear in our head. We are trying to destroy them." See also paragraphs 20 and 35 of this complaint. Barrick has similarly boasted that the SPLC has been watching Allen like a hawk because, according to Barrick and the SPLC, he has the worst ideas ever. See paragraph 47 of this complaint. So here in the essence, or is the essence, Barrick, Potok, and the SPLC conducted lengthy and close surveillance on, plotted to destroy, and then did destroy Glenn Allen, who was performing ethically and competently as an attorney for his adopted city of Baltimore. Because Barrick, Potok, and the SPLC did not like what they thought was going on inside Allen's head, the defendant's destruction of Allen was highly effective, causing his termination as an attorney for the city of Baltimore and ravaging the reputation as an attorney he had achieved over decades by performing ethical and competent work, including substantial pro bono work for African Americans and others. For the reasons set forth below, accordingly, Allen requests legal redress. So this is, of course, the SPLC working to discredit and destroy the reputation of someone who is a political adversary of theirs by accusing them of being hateful, racist, a hate group, or an organizer or affiliate of a hate group, and then going ahead and using their significant nonprofit tax-exempt funding to then defame and destroy someone. This case is ongoing, but the updates are very, very far between. There is currently a memorandum in support of a motion to dismiss. I have it here, but it's 40 pages. The SPLC has moved to dismiss this case. They moved for that on the 4th of March, 2019. 4th of March. So this has been around a very long time. Let me see if I can. There was a request for a hearing on April 25th of 2019, and then literally nothing has happened since then. So there you go. There you go. This case has been sitting in limbo for almost 6 months now. Let me take a quick peek at the request for the hearing document. Okay, 1 second. The hearing was requested on April 25th, and no response from the court or the other parties, period. It's not been settled. It is not, there's been no statements from the judge. There's been no update saying that so-and-so needs to file something. Just waiting on the court to respond. That's welcome to federal court. Welcome to federal court. So that's that one. Here's the memo. Oh, I have the memo here. I'm not going to go through this tonight. I'll look through it. If it's interesting, I'll do a show on it. But it is there are two. I believe there are two motions to dismiss. One for failure to state a claim, and another for jurisdiction or something like that. But I'll go through them, like I said, and see. But I wanted to let you know I did cover this suit back when it was filed, and it is still ongoing. And if anything happens, of course, I would love to follow up on it. I know a lot of people are curious about if the SPLC will ever be held sort of to task for what they've what they've done, I suppose. I get this one. Okay. So I will follow up on that one and see if anything ever happens. But okay, what do we have next? This is here we go. This is Tenny versus FaZe Clan. If you guys don't remember this, Tfue, Turner Tenney, professionally known as Tfue, has sued FaZe Clan over what he is calling an unconscionable contract. This case is still ongoing in California, there in Los Angeles. The FaZe Clan has moved to dismiss for I believe a failure to state a claim, and the other thing they've moved to dismiss for is a forum non-convenience, suggesting that the forum itself is not convenient. Now, FaZe Clan did have a choice of law provision in the contract of New York. I believe that was actually overturned, or that was ignored by the California court, and then now they have moved to say that the forum is not convenient. And good luck on that one, I think. Good luck, because they're contracting with someone in California, in Los Angeles specifically, and they will probably be aiming to show that the jurisdiction should extend over that contract because it happens actually in California, even though they want it to happen in New York, but that it happens in California. So that is where this is right now. I will be attempting to procure the documents for this, the relevant documents. I went to buy some of them, and they are very, very expensive because the filings are huge. Hundreds of pages have been filed in this lawsuit, and so I will see about purchasing them or acquiring them from other people who may have them. I don't know. I want to look around before I just dump hundreds of dollars into finding it. But this is a very interesting suit, and very curious how this will turn out, because esports is unregulated sporting industry where a lot of money is being spent and earned on labor that in other similar industries, like regular sporting industries, they have various things like unions, and they have rules and organizations that protect the players from the larger entities and assure them some sort of thing based on their skill, but allows them to negotiate on a more level playing field. I don't know if that's right or wrong about how it should work. That's just how it is in everything else. So now they want to make esports the same, for better or worse. For better or worse. And esports is very interesting because the esports celebrities have this unique ability that maybe a regular, like a basketball player, you monetize sponsorships, you monetize your contract with your NBA team and all of that stuff. You don't get to go monetize pickup games, right? Like, you kind of could, probably, Shaq could go out and play some street ball and put it up on YouTube and monetize that. But the difference here would be, that would be like, if Tfue's independent streaming and independent income from that streaming, now under the contract, he doesn't necessarily have the ability to do this, but assuming they aren't enforcing those provisions of the contract and he's able to individually monetize his streaming, imagine the difference though. Tfue can do what he does from the place that he often does it, right? He can be an esports player from his chair. He can participate in online events just through Twitch or YouTube and make a bunch of money off of his own success and also off of FaZe Clan success and the events that they bring him to and stuff like that. A baseball player can't just play baseball in the same stadium with the same sort of cameras and coverage and have all that come to them. It doesn't work in the same simple way. They legally probably can do it. It's just much harder to organize. So there's some interesting logistical differences between how esports and the individual's ability to monetize an esport works with a professional athlete's ability to do so. So That's this, but this case is ongoing. There's a hearing coming up in the next, I believe in the next couple days on this. Do I still have that pulled up? There was a notice of change of the hearing date issued, on the 9th. So just earlier, there's a change of the hearing date to, dismiss or stay for forum nonconvenience and the alternative demurrer to the First Amendment complaint. So I'm going to try and get more information. I'll try and grab that First Amendment complaint and then some of the motion documents to see what kind of arguments they're making. The motion response is 100 pages. They have declarations in support of the plaintiff and defendant. This one is 61 pages. They have a 147-page declaration in support of the plaintiff. They have a 458-page motion for protective order, or alternatively to stay third-party discovery. So FaZe Clan really does not want Tfue deposing or getting discovery from any of the let's see, where did my, oh, there's my window. They don't want them getting discovery from any of the other esports players to find out how bad their contracts are and stuff like that. So they're actively trying to block that discovery. They're trying to block the forum, and it's currently ongoing. So I'll keep a watch on this one and see. I'm very interested in how this turns out. It's just such a new area, and it's interesting to see a fledgling industry claw its way into some semblance of legitimacy through legal action. So there we go. That is that's about what I've got on the That's about what I've got on the outstanding cases. I'll go through and look for some other ones, but right now that's what we've got. Also, I'm attempting to look into the Mercedes Carrera criminal charges. I think I mentioned that earlier. I know I mentioned it on the kill stream. I just don't know if I mentioned it on here. Mercedes Carrera criminal charges. I know there's some sort of hearing going on this month, but I don't have documents. So I'm seeing if I can get any documents about it. If they're public, they're not easily accessible. So I'll see if they're publicly available and hopefully report back on that. Oh, the tardigrade lawsuit against CBS. Well, that's a really interesting one. CBS through Star Trek Discovery they won their tardigrade lawsuit, which was Anis Abdin, a guy who had been developing a video game for several years, which has a striking amount of resemblance to various aspects of Star Trek Discovery. The judge did say that the immutable characteristics of a tardigrade cannot be copyrighted. I always say copywritten. They cannot be copyrighted. So, the immutable characteristics of a tardigrade, like it being a giant blue space bear that hugs you and then whisks you through a faster than light speed through a network of fungus to another location in the universe. Listen, you can't copyright that. That's just how tardigrades work. That's just how tardigrades work. So you can't copyright that, right? So Star Trek Discovery couldn't have stolen that because tardigrade, whatever it is. Star Trek Discovery couldn't have stolen using this tardigrade thing into to travel through a fungal network and arrive at some other point in the universe at a faster than light speed, because how could anyone copyright that thing that those little microscopic space bears do? So that's that. It's interesting. And all of the other similarities, like how the characters look like the sketches, how the costumes look like the character design from Anis Abdin's work, all of that's all coincidence. That's just how it goes. And of course they look the same because they do. There's no way that CBS Broadcasting stole something from some nobody. Why would they do that? Even though it's been available online for like 5 years and all of these similarities exist. It just happened that way. And everybody loves Star Trek Discovery and should continue to watch it. So there's that. That's how that case ended up. For better or worse. I have no idea if Annis will be appealing that, but I would think that maybe that's not a decision you want to appeal because it's going to be very, very difficult. Unfortunately, the judge accurately stated the law. He just applied it in a weird way to the facts of the case. And when you have that sort of situation, you're arguing about how a finder of fact found their facts. And unless there's an abuse of discretion in how they excluded facts or included facts against, say, rules of evidence or something like that, you're going to be arguing that the judge's idea of the facts are wrong with people who don't collect facts. The appellate court tends to defer to the trial court's collection of the facts and their ability to judge them. So it's going to be a really tough one. With an accurate statement of law, it's a very tough appeal. Now, I don't know if all of the law was stated accurately. What I saw looked like it was. It just looked like they applied the facts improperly, and that's a real shame. So, I think what'll really tell the tale would be as if he ends up publishing his game and then they sue him for copyright infringement. That would be peak copyright trolling by CBS. So there's that. All right, guys, I am going to read through the remaining super chats and justice chats and wrap up the stream for tonight. I will be streaming on Twitch in a little bit. I'm going to go just grab a snack and then come back and stream on Twitch. So you can join me over there if you want. Other than that, I will announce if we're going to have the Second Amendment stream tomorrow or Friday as soon as possible. I'll have my intern do the same on Twitter, and we'll be rolling. If not, I'll mention what other cases are out there, or what other topics there are to discuss tomorrow. So, all right, guys, thanks for hanging out. If you do leave during the super chats, these shouldn't take too terribly long tonight. And then we will move on over to Twitch. So if you do leave now, peace. Otherwise, I'll talk to you. Let's do these. So we've got Facetious Sage says, "Hey, Nick, I DM Mark Kern on Twitter about you being interested in having him back on the show. And he seems into it. So hopefully you have a way of contacting him. I enjoyed his last time on the Blizzard topic. It's right up his alley." Deep Fried Lettuce says, "So SJW shouldn't SJW up comics, but apparently this guy gets to bring his politics into video games, specifically one that is actually not that popular with a lot of normal people in mainland China. It's cool when we do it." There's a difference here, right? This is a participant in a video game. He's not the creator of Hearthstone. He's not forcing Hearthstone upon others. Someone who wants to read a comic and make commentary about it is fine. Someone who wants to take a comic or a story that exists and insert their personal politics into the product you create is different than that. The better analog to this would be, does Blizzard itself support Hong Kong in a game? Like, are you in your Hearthstone card playing free Tibet or free Taiwan or free Hong Kong as an action card? That's much more comparable to what's going on in comics than a consumer having an opinion. Consumers are allowed to have opinions about whatever they want, right? It's the business putting the opinion into people in forcing them into their ideology. That's a problem. So there you go. Let's see. The Pie Baker says, "Don't worry, Nick. Petty thugs can't comprehend that the actions of one does not represent the group leader, chieftain, pack alpha, top prison B word. Oh, man. Hated 7 Days to Die says, walk by grift successful, keep dodging the mini spears. Knight of Hopex. Knight of Hopex says, another thing on this is to discuss Kant. He said that you must be allowed to participate in society in order to have civil liberty. If everyone can get together and ban you carrying a gun or fire you for speaking out, then the government doesn't matter. Right. I've said this before. Government has abdicated their suppression of freedom, and we've abdicated our protection of freedom to corporate entities. And we've decided that we don't have recourse against them. TLJ Screwjob says, so why is a judge, cough, chup, cough, even allowed to say, screw the standard of evidence where you have breached a contract being enough? You have 2 breach contracts, you don't. Cause of action dismissed. Nick bangs gavel because judges can do that. We have appeals to protect against it, but it is a process that has to be gone through. Knight of Hopex says, sorry, not Kant, John Stuart Mill. Got my philosophers mixed up. Oh, also, Mill probably wouldn't tell us to break up Google, Amazon, Facebook, etc. He would probably tell us to make them more accountable to the individuals they serve, to loosen their grip. So there you go. And for the record, I don't think I've ever said that they should be broken up. Chris says, Ty, Nick, if we file for an appeal, you know we will lose the case again. Nick, yes, Mr. Beard, the end is near again. I have a confession to make. Ty, yes, Nick? Nick, before the end, I wish to realize my dream. Bring me the sacred ointment. Gross. Gross. TLJ Screwjob says, also, Nick, if you were to go until 4:30 a.m., I would still be listening while going to the airport for my cousin's wedding. Hey, good luck with that, man. Fluffy Side Up says, there's a lady in my general area under investigation for 32 counts of federal fraud and suspected murder of her husband. If you'd want info on it for future streams, I can try to get some more and send it to you. Sure. That could be interesting. Cass Michael says, I made a buttload on Dick's stock thanks to guns and ammo sales during Obama's gun ban scare. Good job, buddy. Good job. All right. Right. Next, we've got Gillian Seed says, check LinkedIn, Grifters Unite. What? Valhalla 4413 says, how's Twitter recovery going? Not well. Asia Fraser says, you never gave a definition of simp and spurg. Spurg is someone who freaks out about little things. Simps, I got to leave that to Drexel. Drexel defines the simps. I don't. Plantation Sensation says, Taiwan number 1, China number 911. So there you go. Ace Ramon says, are you aware that at Chris Maffer claims that you are personally responsible for the actions of Elliot Rodger, 2014 Isla Vista shooter? Oh, I am personally responsible for him? Cool. How'd that happen? Huh. Emery Calamay says, Marvel is doing 40K and Warhammer Age of Sigmar comics. I know. Thank you. Thank you for triggering my postpartum depression or whatever. Skeletal Mesh says, Nick, do you know of a movie called Law Abiding Citizen? Yeah, with Russell Crowe. I like that movie. Think you'd like it, and I'd be interested to see an actual lawyer's take on it. I'd have to rewatch it. Plantation Sensation says, so we off the Vic stuff now? We're covering what's out there. There's really not going to be a lot of Vic news in the court case. If something comes up, of course I will cover it. But right now, until an appeal is filed, there's nothing to say. So I'm not going to just sit and like hover in the Vic drama and gossip. We're going to find other content to cover in the meanwhile. At Zuma99 says, share some whiskey or I will confiscate your Broly figure. How dare you? Plantation Sensation says, is this a grift channel now? Yes. Tsukaki Onsai says, following the Viva Frey model, it seems. Good move. Plantation Sensation says, gay as hell, but let's get Taiwan number 1 trending on Twitter. Good luck. I don't know if Twitter would even allow it because you know, China and all. Sagrazna says the government should intervene for Twitter, Facebook, Google, but we as consumers should intervene with Blizzard. The Stealth Hispanic says, have you seen Nunes's lawsuit against Twitter suing them for not following their own rules as negligence in Virginia? Yes. And I will be looking into that lawsuit. Very, very interested in his success in that. And from what I understand, they have gotten permission to proceed to discovery, and the discovery requests are brutal. But I got to look into it. Time code mechanics. Oh, Gerard Butler. Who did I say? I can't remember who I said, but I meant Gerard Butler. Yeah. Timecode Mechanics says, will you talk about the Ben Feibelman case? He was falsely accused of rape on campus, but he actually refused to have sex and recorded the situation. That's fantastic. Maybe. I'll look into it. Cato Sierra says, ancient American proverb, the best time to start a war with China was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Sam X Steele says, you hear about the Glenlivet capsule collection? I did. I'm horrifically curious. Oh, I say to Russell Growe. Yes, Gerard Butler. Thank you. Is who I meant. They're the same person. Isaelzen says, NBA wants on. Check yo city block. Henry A says, can we enforce the Communist Control Act of 1954? Yeah, no. That would not go well. The Supreme Court would probably not uphold enforcement of that act. Kidda says, imagine if it was Fortnite and Epic banned him at 10 cents demand. He'd also lose all access to his EGS library. Don't use the Epic Games Store. Don't give communists your money. So there you go. My name is Nobody. You're a bomb-a-clot. You're a bomb-a-clot. What's a bomb-a-clot? Mike Testa says, Nick, you realize he doxed himself on his stream? No one doxed him that whole time. Don't bother giving him your time. He's just a petty thief and liar. Yeah, I know he doxed himself on his stream. I don't care what he does. Cody Byers says, Mad Black is becoming the unholy fusion of Mundane Matt and Donga with a side of monograph and covered in shoe polish. Finn Frog says, I witnessed the dear sweet Kristen Monroe bragging about reporting you, Tug, Yellow Flash, Hero Hayes videos to YouTube in the NBA Yellow Flash stream I dropped into for kicks. Well, there you go. Who's Kirsten Monroe? Who are these people? Kakalotuzaru says, hey, Nick, watching from the beginning. I don't know if you commented already, but I'm curious as to what's your beef with Legal Eagle. I just am not a big fan of his content. I find it to be very pedestrian. Don Gamer Guy says, hey, Nick, shill my adult game Patreon Diddler Games. Okay. Adult game Patreon Diddler Games. I guess go check it out. Brian W. says, Kick Vickers proclaiming they won are the people who say their football team won during the halftime show. Automata says, query, could something like a Freedom of Information Act request be made for how much money police departments expended in response to this whole Joker danger hype? Yeah, but you'd probably have to request it from each police department individually. And that would cost you a lot. A lot. Sakaki Onsai says, Nunez versus Twitter might be in your best interest. Yes, I definitely want to look into it. And how dare Twitter remove my ability to access my nation's political leaders like Devin Nunes. Cars in Depth says, if someone converts to Judaism, do they automatically get Jewish supervillain powers, or do they have to take some kind of esoteric Talmudic training? I don't know. As a lawyer, I got just grandfathered in. This is joke. Curious Interns Inside Items Inside says, hey, Rackets, is there a case you started looking into that seemed simple on the surface, but as you dived into it, it got really crazy or complex? Maddox, Vic. Most of them get complex pretty quickly. Atzuma99 says, Nick is now a space bear. Changed my mind. Horatius763 says, will you admit that the law is what a judge says? The law at the time is what a judge says, and then hopefully you can get an appeals court to change that. But a ruling is the ruling until you get something that says otherwise. Jason of the Great Awakening says, anything on Nunes versus Twitter likely to come? Yes. Yes, there are things likely to come. And Nova Zero says, review Chinese games, say two things, stolen copyright, and Taiwan like Hong Kong and Japan better than China. China numbers simp, and KCK. There you go. Oh, Kirsten got fooled by the Shane parody to admit to make up a lie about Vic. Oh yeah, that dummy. Good job. Very, very good. Oh, and the NBA is now requiring all players to stand for the Chinese national anthem, but not requiring the players to stand for the USA national anthem. Perfect. I prefer Trey Parker and Matt Stone's response to China that they issued, I believe, today. So that's how I think that China should be dealt with. Xi Jinping. Oh, Xi Jinping is here in the chat. That's amazing. He says, my name is Nick Rekieta, and I condemn the illegal rioters of Hong Kong and support the decisions of Blizzard. No! Don't clip it! Don't clip it! And then Horatius763 says, Liberian Constitution, same as U.S. results. Thoughts? Is Liberia's Constitution the exact same as ours? That'd be interesting. I haven't looked into it. I guess I'd have to see. All right, guys, here's the outro. Oh, wait, it's not going to play. I got to fix this one thing first. That one. Holy cats. Here's the outro. Here is the outro. This has been lawsplaining the interwebs. Thank you for indulging me tonight and hanging out, of course, as always. And I hope you found I hope you like the changes that are coming up to the channel over the next period of time. I don't know how long it's going to be, but if you want to come check me out on Twitch and hang out and chat and all of that stuff, please do so. Rekieta Law, twitch.tv/Rekieta Law. Yeah, other than that, I guess thanks for hanging out. Oh, Super Saiyan for Trump says, how many men do you think NBA pleased in prison? I don't ever want to think about that. And Mike Testa says, are you and NBA ever going to be buds again? I don't know. I don't know. It's tough to have someone who says that you and your children should be murdered and trust them. I don't know how. That's a hard thing to get around. So at the current time, I'm not really interested in that. Like I said, I'm at peace with him. He's forgiven, but that doesn't mean I want to just welcome him into my show and that I want to hang out and chat with him. I would have some issues discussing things in good faith. So. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out tonight. Enjoy the outro music, and if you come over to Twitch, I'll see you on Twitch. Otherwise, we'll just see you tomorrow, probably right here. Have a good night. Peace. Peace.
Get unemployed, so pour out a glass for the tea. Post on Twitter as we hear lawsplaining tonight. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are.